just going to talk about the different morphological types of viruses, and also give an example of how each how each virus looks like. So there's what is called the tobacco mosaic virus. It looks like a spring, a helical spring, just a spring rod on itself. And this virus affects the tobacco leaves and can actually decimate a crop in no time. Then there is what is called the polyhedron, or in short, we can also call it an icosahedron. Think about a lot of triangles that are positioned in such a way that they are all attached to each other, and then they form this big polygon, a polygon that is three-dimensional. Adenovirus is an example of an icosahedron type of virus, and it looks very beautiful actually under the microscope, with all the nice little corners, and it will also have a few little projections that are called glycoproteins. The adenovirus is a virus that is important in human beings because it causes diseases both of the upper respiratory tract, okay? So it means that from the ears, the throat, coming down up to the larynx, somewhere there's a condition called croup. If you've heard of croup, you know that usually patients or babies will present with, sometimes the voice just goes away or the voice becomes hoarse, and then they have stridor, meaning they have difficulties in breathing with the upper airway looking as if it's obstructed. And if you it's an important sign for us to know the type of treatment to give, because it's not always that we are able to see that, oh, this is adenovirus, but when we see the clinical features, we're actually able to tell that this is the medication that is going to work. So the next type of viruses are what are called spherical, okay? Usually these will have an envelope, they'll have that lipid envelope outside of that protein coat, and influenza virus is one example of the spherical type of viruses. The envelope usually is in a spherical form, so both the genetic material and the capsid are inside of that spherical structure. Then my favorite virus, okay, is the what is called the bacteriophage. Some books will call it the head and tail. It looks like a spaceship about to start off, or maybe a spider, standing on its legs. It looks quite bizarre, quite a serious creation, I should say. And remember the icosahedron that I talked about. So you have the icosahedron head attached to sometimes it's just a filament, or sometimes it's that helical structure that I talked about earlier. So you have different parts that are forming the virus, and then at the end you have these little tails and fibers that will actually look like legs. And these are viruses that now will affect bacteria, and they've been very widely studied actually in virology. They are the viruses that have taught us a lot of the things that we know about viruses today. The bacteriophage, very beautiful to draw. Then the next type of virus that I'll talk about is what is called the filamentous. Okay, it's just like a little piece of rope, a filament. And the commonest virus that is filamentous that we know today is the Ebola virus. We know that it has caused serious disease in the past few years, and it is actually quite a deadly virus. And then the last terminology that I would want you to know, the envelope viruses, sometimes they are grouped on their own. HIV is a typical example of an envelope virus, like just a soccer ball. And then it has these little protrusions that are called glycoproteins that help it in its propagation, in the way it infects humans, so that it can infect cells from one host to another. It's more like the influenza virus that we talked about a little bit earlier. So now, why is it difficult to treat patients with viral illnesses? Okay, it's not business as usual with viruses. And if you look back in history, you will see that there's been a lot happening as far as viral infections are concerned. Why is it so? So number one, viruses. We've talked already about how viruses infect normal living cells, okay? But what happens is when they infect the living cells, they actually go there and subvert, they overthrow the cell machinery and now reproduce, multiply. They tell the cell what to do. And this eventually, once there's so many viruses in one cell, the cell actually lies. It will burst open and then release more of the virus. So it means that the whole cell dies in the process. And then they are also hard to kill because they will actually live inside of the cell. A lot of the antibiotics that are used around for bacterial infections, you find that they go into the bloodstream outside of the cells and they're able to kill organisms from that end. But then with these, they will go into the host cell. So for the drug to get to the virus, it has to somehow affect the host cell as well. So it uses that host cell to actually be protected, remain protected, and away from the circulation that has whatever drug that should kill it. And also this is, I think, just important for us to realize that antibiotics will not typically treat viruses. So it's not useful for you to take amoxicillin if you have a flu, which is a very bad habit, because antibiotics actually, the abuse of antibiotics has its own problems in terms of antibiotic resistance. It means that next time you take that drug, you may not even you may not even eradicate whatever disease you are supposed to eradicate because you've misused it in the past. And so do not take antibiotics for things that actually are caused by viruses, things like the common cold or influenza. It is not useful. Then vaccines are your best bet. So it means that sometimes we need to teach the body to protect itself against these viruses before the viruses come, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a while. We also have drugs that are called antiviral drugs that know how to target these viruses, but it is not very easy to have these developed because the viruses will come with their own different machinations. So it's not many antivirals that are out there that are working and that are useful to us as human beings.